Oh, sir. Thank you.
Senator Rafferty, we are live.
Thank you very much, Eli. Good morning, folks, and welcome to the Maine State Legislature. This is the Committee on Education and Cultural Affairs. My name is Joe Rafferty. I'm a Senate District representing Senate District 34 down in York County, and I am the Senate Chair of this committee. And this morning we'll be working on some work sessions on bills that we've had hearings on. We'll get to those shortly. Prior to doing so, just going to take a moment to introduce our committee members, and I will start with my co-chair, Representative Brennan.
Good morning. My name is Michael Brennan. I represent District 36, which is part of Portland.
Thank you. And Senator Woodson.
Good morning, Dave Woodson, District 33, York County.
Thank you. Representative Crockett.
Good morning, everyone. Ed Crockett, District 43, which is part of Portland and part of Falmouth.
Thank you. Representative Dodge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Jan Dodge, House District 97, Belfast, Northport, and Waldo. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you. Representative Lyman.
Good morning, Sheila Lyman, District 74, J, Livermore Falls, and part of Livermore. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative McCray.
Good morning, folks. I'm Dave McCray. I live in sunny Fort Fairfield up in the county, and I represent District 148. Good morning to everybody.
Good morning. And Representative Millett.
Good morning. I'm Rebecca Millett. I represent House District 30, which is most of Cape Elizabeth.
Thank you. Representative Roach.
Morning, everyone. Tim Roach, representing District 7 Wells.
Thank you. Representative Salisbury.
Good morning. I am Sue Salisbury and I represent House District 35, which is part of Westbrook.
Thank you. Representative Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Heidi Sampson, representing the good people of House District 21. That's Alfred, Limerick, Shapley, Newfield, and Parsonsfield.
Thank you. Representative Stearns.
Good morning. My name is Paul Stearns. I represent House District 119, which is located in Piscataquis County.
Thank you. And folks, also working with us this morning, we have our committee clerk, Eli Murphy. Eli will be helping you manage in and out should you be asked or invited into our work session. He'll be handling that. We'll also have our the committee's analyst, Hillary Risler. Good morning, Hillary. Hillary will be offering a lot of information to the committee as we work through bills. She does a lot of homework and research for us and helps us operate as effectively as we do. In any case, I mentioned earlier the order. Today we are we have 4 work sessions, LDs 1870, 1880, 1893, 1902. First up on our agenda this morning will be LD 1870, which is an act regarding the Maine School Safety Center. And we'll start with Ms. Risler and her analysis. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I'll start by sharing my screen. All right, so as Senator Rafferty mentioned, this is LD 1870, which is an act regarding the Maine School Safety Center. This bill was actually submitted by the Department of Education and presented to the committee by Representative Corey. This bill amends the provision of law that establishes the Maine School Safety Center to provide additional details and clarify the center's purpose and role. Specifically, the bill clarifies that the center must assist schools in their efforts to provide for the overall safety of their school community, rather than ensuring the overall safety of schools in the state. It clarifies that the primary role of the center is to provide training, guidance, and technical support to schools regarding their efforts to safely mitigate against, prepare for, respond to, and recover from hazards and threats. It lays out the purposes of the center, It requires the center to work collaboratively with all appropriate stakeholders in furtherance of its purposes. It establishes that the center's staff consists of a director, assistant director, and employees, and it specifies the services that the center is responsible for providing to schools in the state. During the public hearing, proponents of the bill testified that the bill cleans up language and better defines in statute the purposes, collaborative efforts, staffing, and provided services of the center. That the purpose of the bill is to expand the scope of the center by making it more of a community center and make the overall school climate not only safer, also more well-equipped to handle today's emergencies and concerns. That the center has proven to be an essential resource to schools for school safety, and the unique team of experts with their long histories in the field of school safety, public safety, mental health, and their important stakeholder relationships has led to the center becoming a well-respected and crucial resource for school safety in Maine, and that the center should be codified in law to assure this critical service is guaranteed for the future safety of schools. That the center is an invaluable resource for schools, particularly with regard to coordinating consistent and informed responses to threats in schools. And you heard one example in particular in regard to important training that the center provided last year to identify and address issues of child sexual abuse and exploitation. You did not hear any testimony at the public hearing in opposition or in the neither for nor against category. I provided a little bit of background information. Representative Corey touched on this as well, so I'm not going to go through it, but this is a little history of how the Maine School Safety Center came to be through the 129th legislature. It was codified as part of the budget, and then I also put a link to the department's website on the Maine School Safety Center, which has a little bit more information as well. I have three quick just sort of issues for consideration from the way the bill is currently drafted that I just want to bring to your attention. The first is that the bill requires that the center work collaboratively with all appropriate stakeholders in furtherance of its purposes. I would just note that this provision is pretty vague. I think my guess is the intent is to provide sort of that maximum flexibility, but it's not entirely clear who all appropriate stakeholders would encompass. And certainly it's not clear who would necessarily determine who all appropriate stakeholders are. So I just want to bring that to your attention. Additionally, the bill includes the staff of the Maine School Safety Center to include the director, assistant director, and employees. This is a slightly unusual requirement in Title 20A. Most of the other offices within the Department of Education do not have spelled out in statute that level of detail on staff. I flagged this mostly insofar as to remember, while this may be a requirement in statute if you move forward with the bill, ultimately it's up to the appropriations of the legislature to determine funding for positions such as these. Last but not least, I had a question. One of the services that the bill requires is for the center to provide to schools legislation and policy recommendations and review. And I wasn't entirely clear on what the intent of this is and whether it is relates to federal and state legislation, or whether this had to do more with services assisting schools with drafting of their own policies and procedures. And so I think that is one thing that the committee may want to just clarify. We do not have any preliminary fiscal impact statement at this time. I do know that Jonathan Shapiro from the department is available in the attendees list, and I'm happy to touch on any of those couple of questions I had regarding the draft if the committee would like me to.
Thank you, Hillary. Any questions, folks, from anyone? So,
just a
I don't see any hands up. So Hillary, I'll ask. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Representative Salisbury.
Sorry about that. Just a clarification, Hillary, when you said about the part about the staff, is your concern, just understanding again, because it lists out those specific people, so that normally, so that would mean those people would have to be hired in relation to like finances if the appropriation committee didn't?
So there's no reason you can't include those staff positions in statute. So I'm not saying that you need to take it out or anything like that. It's just a little bit unusual. And I think, you know, if the legislature at some point decided, well, we only want to fund one position with that school safety center, there would only be funding for one position, even if it says in statute that they have to have a director, assistant director, and employees. So I flag it just sort of as a, moving forward, this does not necessarily mean there will always be these number of positions, because that really will depend on what the legislature itself actually appropriates for the department.
Okay, that's what I was thinking you meant. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. How about the stakeholder question? Perhaps Mr. Shapiro could address that a little bit.
I'm sorry, there was another email came in and covered what you were saying. Could you please repeat that?
Okay, there was some question as a, what is it? Requires all the stakeholders to be involved. We wanted to know, is there a clear stakeholder group?
So we have first of all, the Maine School Safety Center certainly advocates for and encourages collaboration, because you really, in order to have a safe school, you need that level of collaboration at every level. Our collaborative internet network for schools is very elaborate. We have well over 20 stakeholders that we work with at every level: local, county, state, and federal. And that includes, public safety, law enforcement, fire, EMS, emergency management, parents, and education associations and whatnot in that. To be prescriptive and list all of the stakeholders would cover a lot of real estate within that. And what the reason why it was stated the way it was is basically to solidify the fact that in order to have a safe school, you need collaboration, and that the School Safety Center is committed to collaborating with all relevant stakeholders towards the end of creating the most up-to-date and best practices plan and safety network for the schools. Again, to list that, stakeholders come and go, and what is needed for one situation for stakeholders may not be needed for another. Just the concept of collaboration is really the essential part there, and the fact that all relevant stakeholders should be at the table.
Thank you very much. Any additional questions?
I have one, Joe.
Yes, sir.
It concerns me there's no physical note. Is there a reason why that has not been provided?
So the two positions that are mentioned in there have already been approved in the state budget, and the other positions that we have are currently and in the future will should be covered by the various grants that we've applied. One that we're working under, two that we're going to be working under now, and then future grants that will be applied for. The School Safety Center, because of its collaborative nature, quite frankly, and the way it's designed, is uniquely positioned to really maximize our ability to gain grants. We just received a $2 million 3-year grant for our behavioral threat assessment program, which is most salient at this point in time, quite frankly. Again, because of the way we're designed, I do believe that we're well positioned to maximize our ability to obtain grants. I would also say that solidifying the School Safety Center in statute is also a benefit for our ability to maintain the resources that we're getting via grants.
Okay, thank you.
I figured as much.
Any other questions? All right. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, Hillary has her hand up.
Oh, I can't see it. I'm sorry, Hillary.
That's okay. I just wanted to also sort of mention that, typically our fiscal office does not necessarily do preliminary fiscal notes on every bill. Certainly, if the committee wants to move forward with this bill or an amendment with this bill, we would request the fiscal note, and the bill would not be reported out of committee until the committee had received the fiscal note.
Thank you. Any other questions, folks? And
Joe,
Yes.
can I just jump in? I think you're using a new device, but I can just barely hear you.
Well, all right. I am using a new device and we'll get a little bit closer. That might scare people.
Okay,
But,
thank you.
Is this any better?
Yes.
All right. And I don't know if increasing this volume helps you with my microphone. I doubt it, but in any case, I'll try to do my best to speak a little louder this morning. Also, the on my end, the picture sides are a little bit different, so you're all a lot smaller than normal, but in any case, here we go. Any other questions? Yes, Representative Stearns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not so much a question as a comment. I think that Hillary made a good catch on the piece that specifies positions within the safety center. And, I feel that especially given Mr. Shapiro's testimony, how the flexibility with grant funding and all that piece moving forward, I just think it would be wise for us to not be overly prescriptive and to perhaps remove that language and each year or each biennium as part of the process, the director would submit their budget in a normal fashion and have the positions and just like most other departments. So just a comment in that area.
So was there one particular section of the bill itself or one line that you were looking to adjust or amend?
If I may, Senator?
Go ahead.
It's on page 1 of the bill. It's lines 29 and 30. And it reads that the center staff consists of a director, assistant director, and employees responsible for providing the following services. So I think if you wanted to do what Representative Stearns, I think, was suggesting, and I'm sure he will correct me if I'm wrong, you would simply say that the center's staff is responsible for providing the following services.
Thank you. Anyone have any question with our comment relative to making that adjustment or amendment? Anyone opposed to making that amendment? So we can make that change then, Hillary, please. Anything else? Seeing no hands,
Senator Rafferty, I see that Representative Brennan has his hand up.
All right, so why do I not see the hand emblem?
Well, it's a small hand on the left-hand side, so. Ms. Rizzo, just my quick question. If we were to adopt the language that Representative Stearns, or drop the language Representative Stearns suggested, and then there were 2 other questions, have those been sufficiently answered for you to draft the amendment for the bill?
So I think on the first question I had to do with the work collaboratively with all appropriate stakeholders. I think if the committee is comfortable with that being a little bit vague to provide the center the flexibility to work with anyone they want, I think that's fine.
Right.
So if the committee is comfortable with that, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
The second question has been answered. The third question was for clarity on, and this is going to be page 1 of the bill, line 38. This is one of the services that the staff is responsible for providing to schools in the state. And it reads that they are responsible providing to schools legislation and policy recommendations and review.
Right.
And so I wasn't exactly sure what it meant to provide legislation to schools.
Okay. So Senator, if we could ask Mr. Shapiro to maybe clarify that issue.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. We regularly get asked from schools about best practices and policies for various emergency operations. And that really was, that line really was put in there for both internal and external purposes. One was that we could provide the service to the schools. And again, we're not saying that you have to have X, Y, and Z. It would just be basically what are best practices out there nationally, what are the trends nationally, what threats are out there nationally, and what sort of policies do you need to have to address those in the best way possible. Also internally, for the DOE at large, we are the subject matter experts in school safety. So we do provide that feedback when we're discussing various trends. What policies or need to either be updated, created, or modified and to meet the most current threat levels that are out there. And of course, there's legislation proposals all the time, and to be able to vet that through a safety lens, through the experience that the team brings, to look at that and provide positive feedback to the DOE in regard to what we're seeing through our lens. Not that that obviously is the only lens, but it would inform the process. So that's why that was in there for both internal purposes and external purposes for those reasons.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Risler, does that clarify that for you?
Yes, it does. I think this third subsection of the bill is specific to services provided to schools. So what I would probably recommend, based on what Mr. Shapiro said, is to revise that language there to include provide best practices and policy recommendations and review to schools, and move that recommendation for legislation up to the purposes section in subsection 1, so that one of the purposes of this section is to help provide recommendations on legislation for the department.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Representative Stearns.
I'm wondering if, while we're right on that topic, if we maybe took a nod or an approval of what Ms. Risler just put forward. I think it's in my opinion, it's a very good idea. What she just
If
said.
we could nod, wave. Is there anyone that's greatly opposed or wants? All right, so I do see another hand up. Representative Millette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we've gone through all of the issues that Ms. Risler raised, so I'm wondering if you're ready for a motion.
I am.
Great, then I would move ought to pass as amended, incorporating the changes that we've just discussed in work session.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second, Representative Stearns?
I don't have a second at this time, but as soon as the second is made, I've had a request for a corner caucus.
Thank you. Representative McRae?
I'd second that emotion.
Thank you. And so we have motion was made to pass as amended. It was seconded by Representative McRae. I know there was a call for a corner caucus. And Eli, do you want to remind us? I believe if that's necessary, the folks would leave the meeting and re-enter the meeting, correct?
And we will caucus as well, Senator Rafferty.
Okay, so we're all leaving and coming back.
Yep, so that is correct. If you're caucusing, please leave the meeting and rejoin when you're finished. If you are staying in this meeting, please turn your video and audio off. The live stream will remain running indefinitely.
Can we set a tentative time, 5-10 minutes or whatever?
I think 10 should do it, Senator. Is that okay?
Okay with me, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
is that we don't want to do it now.
Did my audio connect, please?
Yes, it did.
But now we seem to be missing Senator Rafferty.
Is everyone back? I know I'm having problems transitioning, but that's okay. I'm here. Can you hear me all right? All right, thank you.
Better.
I do see a hand up, Representative Lyman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this
Yeah.
question is for Hillary in regards to that number 3 that you mentioned. I just wanted to make sure I understood the language change was going to suggest that they would make suggestions for rather than develop specific legislation. Is that correct?
So I would say on the third part, it would clarify that one of the services, they're not going to provide any legislation to schools. They're going to provide to schools the best practices and policy recommendations and review.
Okay.
For the legislation piece, one of the things that Mr. Shapiro mentioned is that one of their roles within the department is to provide recommendations on legislation for the department.
Okay.
So that is the piece that would go up in one of their purposes, is to provide legislation recommendations for the department.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? So we did have a motion made. The motion was seconded, and the motion was ought to pass as amended. Any further discussion? Just so there's no confusion, then I'm going to ask Eli to call the roll. I don't want to try to do a show of hands. I'm having problems seeing you, period. So.
Absolutely.
Thank
Sure.
you.
So the vote on LD 1870 is ought to pass as amended. Senator Rafferty?
Yes.
Senator Rafferty votes yes. Senator Daughtry? Senator Daughtry is absent. Senator Woodsum?
Yes.
Senator Woodsum votes yes. Representative Brennan?
Yes.
Representative Brennan votes yes. Representative Crockett?
Yes.
Representative Crockett votes yes. Representative Dodge?
Yay.
Representative Dodge votes yay. Representative Lyman?
Yes.
Representative Lyman votes yes. Representative McCray?
Yes.
Representative McCray votes yes. Representative Millette?
Yes.
Representative Millette votes yes. Representative Roach?
Yes.
Representative Roach votes yes. Representative Salisbury?
Yes.
Representative Salisbury votes yes. Representative Sampson?
Yes.
Representative Sampson votes yes. Representative Stearns?
Yes.
Representative Stearns votes yes. The votes are on LD 1870, 12 votes yes, 1 absent.
Thank you, Eli, and thank you, folks. Mr. Shapiro, thanks for joining us and helping us out in terms of getting this moved forward. You have a good day, and I will call the work session on LD 1870 to a close. Folks, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to, our next piece of legislation will be relative to LD 1880, and I am going to have Representative Brennan will take over for me.
Thank you, Senator. And I know you might be going in and out with the IDEA committee, so we'll try to capture, if we do take any action, we'll make sure that we try to keep you involved. So I will officially open the work session on LD 1880, an act to provide textbook cost assistance to high school students enrolled in the early college courses. And first thing we'll do is ask Ms. Risler to do an analysis of the bill. But if you see, for committee members, there was also an additional attachment of questions and answers from the Department of Education. So we'll probably move immediately to them to answer any particular questions after Ms. Risler does her analysis. And then if Representative O'Neill is here, I'll ask her to respond to any of the questions that were raised with DOE. And then I know we have representatives from the community college as well as from the university system that we will also have an opportunity to hear from them and ask questions. So, Ms. Risler, at this point, can you do an update or a summary of your analysis?
Absolutely. And when you get to the department's question and answer document, I also have that available. If anyone wants me to pull up any of that on my screen, just let me know. But in the meantime, this is LD 1880. The bill establishes the Textbook Cost Assistance Fund in the Department of Education to be used by the department to provide textbook cost assistance to secondary students enrolled in post-secondary courses. And it requires the Department of Education to adopt routine technical rules governing the use of the fund. At the public hearing, the committee heard from proponents of the bill that the textbooks can be a barrier to accessing early college programs for high school students, and that unlike in high school courses, textbooks are not provided to the students, and that these are amazing programs that can help students get college credit at a very modest expense, but that the cost of a college textbook is often overwhelming and can be an insurmountable obstacle for the high school students. The committee did not hear any testimony in opposition. There was some written testimony that I wanted to note with concerns regarding the administration of the program, especially regarding how funds would be allocated and the equity of such allocation, the availability of funds, and whether it could create additional burdens on schools. And some of those concerns were also raised by questions from the committee members during the public hearing. Quick background information. The early college is really an umbrella term for all of the programs in which high school students enroll in college courses and can earn both college and high school credit. The department includes some website includes some additional information, and the UMaine has a helpful overview of the various programs, which include concurrent enrollment, the Aspirations program, and the Bridge Academy. And as Representative Brennan mentioned, there are members from both the Department of Education as well as University of Maine system and Maine Community College system who can answer more questions on some of the different programs if the committee wants that information. The Aspirations program is funded pursuant to Title 20A, Chapter 208-A, and the commissioner may disperse funds for post-secondary course payments in accordance with that chapter. And last year's budget was about $5.5 million. And then the Bridge program also received funding of $1 million in last year's budget. Some issues for the committee's consideration at the work session today. The sponsor suggested that the committee might want to consider a couple of amendments to the bill. If you actually look at the bill itself, it's I think 2 sentences, it's very brief. And the sponsor suggested some clarification that the fund is for early college programming, not just textbooks, but also the online resources used for courses, such as online textbooks, access codes for labs and licensing fees, that sort of thing. She also suggested clarification on the administration of the fund, and as well, perhaps a consideration of a mechanism for identifying greatest need. And one question asked during the committee was about whether consideration could be given to free and reduced lunch applications as a criteria for textbook assistance. And as Representative Brennan mentioned, the DOE also provided responses to questions regarding eligibility and the potential cost and administration of the program, which you received in your email late yesterday. So committee requests for some additional information. Representative Stearns had mentioned the work of an early college task force who may have additional information or could serve as a resource related to this topic. The stakeholder group is meeting to identify barriers to equitable student access, participation, and success in dual enrollment and early college offerings, and trying to ultimately make some recommendations to inform state and local policy. Mercedes Poor, who is the Director of College Access at the Community College, and Amy Hubbard, Executive Director of Early College from UMaine, are also available for the work session if the committee would like to hear some more information about the work that group is currently doing. And I know Representative Stearns can provide additional information on that as well. Preliminary fiscal impact statement we don't have yet, but I do want to note that the department testimony noted determining the fiscal impact of textbook cost assistance program of this nature is complicated by several factors, including the changing annual cost of the program, determining eligibility for the program, and program administration.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Risler. And just at this point, we'll just stop and if are there any questions for Ms. Risler on her part of the bill analysis that she presented at this point? Any questions? Seeing none, we will now and Ms. Risler, if you could pull up the DOE document, the question and answers, and I see that Ms. Holmes is here, and I assume there'll be other people from DOE to answer questions relative to that document.
Yes, so I believe Jason Libby as well.
Okay. But if we can start with you putting the document up, and then if you could run through the document with us very quickly, we can then ask questions directly of department staff.
Sure. So one of the questions asked by the committee was that given the challenges experienced at the secondary level with collecting child nutrition free and reduced lunch forms, what are some reasonable alternatives available to determine student eligibility for the textbook fund? The department replied that identifying a student as economically disadvantaged in the Maine Department of Education's data system can be done via 4 different methodologies. Including the student is directly certified by the Department of Health and Human Services as having a family income below a defined threshold and being eligible for benefit programs, that the student's parent or guardian has completed an application for free or reduced lunch meals and the family income falls with the program guidelines, that the student's parent or guardian has completed a form providing economic status information and the family income falls within the program guidelines, or that that student has been identified as homeless in foster care or is a migratory student. I would note that those are the available identification for students in the Department of Education's data system. There was a question about the early college stakeholder group. The department also provided some more information on that. It's a group of stakeholders been meeting to develop the Maine Early College Report, also known as the Maine Dual Enrollment Report, that the group is a collaboration of UMaine, Maine Community College, and Maine DOE, as well as multiple third parties, including the College and High School Alliance, and has focused on areas of Maine policy that inhibit equitable student access, participation, and success in high-quality college courses for high school students. And that the report has used focus groups to obtain input from many stakeholders. The report itself will look to present current Maine early college policy landscape, identify policy or policy gaps that contribute to an equitable dual enrollment student access, participation, and success. And lastly, propose state and local policy recommendations to address the identified challenges. They hope to have the report available to the committee in March of 2022. They also provide a number of other considerations that the committee might want to think about, including eligibility, determining how need and eligibility will be calculated, financial. The department indicates that they do not feel they have adequate information to accurately assess the fiscal impact of a textbook fund for all early college programs. And some of the things they would need in order to determine the fiscal impact, they list in this document as well. I'm not going to read through all of that, but I'm sure they can speak to it more if you would like them to. They did note the number of students currently participating in the Aspirations program, as well as the Bridge program. However, they noted, as the higher ed did as well, that some of the other early college programs are not administered by the department. And so they don't have those enrollment numbers. They provided some textbook estimates. And there was also some concern or questions regarding the administration. Depending how the program is designed, that there may be additional costs associated with administering purchases and reimbursements. And again, I wasn't going to read through all of these one by one, but can certainly touch on any of them if the committee would like me to. I would reiterate that the way the bill itself is currently drafted, it simply directs the department to adopt routine technical rules. And so to the extent some of these questions could be answered through the rulemaking process, but perhaps not all of them, or perhaps the committee may want to provide some clarification or guidelines for that process.
So thank you, Ms. Rizzler. Are there any questions of Ms. Rizzler of the presentation she just did? Okay, if there aren't, could we turn to the people at DOE that are available to either comment or ask questions? So I see that we have J.C. Holmes, and do we have anybody else? Jason?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we have
Mr. Libby here, and we have Ms. Warren here from the university system. Okay. So any questions of the three of them? Representative Dodge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A bit of a tangential question, I believe. Where are we, please, with current needing to fill out one reduced lunch statement that can be shared between schools within an RSU, please? Did we fix that problem in the 129th, please? Thank you.
Ms. Holmes, do you have an answer to that, or?
I believe that is underway at the department. We're also looking at, because it's sometimes difficult to get those free and reduced lunch forms back, we're actually piloting another methodology for determining an alternative measure, looking at census. And so our data team is working on that as an alternative. We're meeting about every other month to sort of explore how that pilot methodology is working. So we can probably report back in another couple of weeks on that.
Okay. And Representative Millett, in response to Representative Dodge's question, we passed your bill last session that had the department create an online application form that could be used by school districts across the state. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And Ms. Holmes, is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay, but so that's in process, that has not been completed yet.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
And I can verify that.
Okay, thank you. Representative Dodge, does that answer your question as best we can at this point? Okay, great. So next I have Senator Woodson and then Representative Stearns. Senator Woodson.
Thank you. This is a question for the university community college people. Is there or are there other areas that is a greater obstacle for kids taking college courses? In other words, is it tuition, or I mean, is there other issues greater than the cost of textbooks confronting kids?
Good morning, Senator Rafferty. I'm happy to answer that question on behalf of the university briefly, but then I'd like to turn to my colleague, Amy Hubbard, who directs the University of Maine System's early college program, as well as her counterpart at the community college system, Mercedes Poor, because they could answer this question in great detail. But I will tell you from the system's perspective, right now, our biggest challenge, and this was overviewed in both of our testimonies, is that the appropriation, the state appropriation that supports early college has not kept pace with the growth of the program, which is a wonderful story, right? I think we have just seen at the university system, I think early college enrollment has gone up 66% in the last 5 years, and the appropriation has not gone up 66%. And so inadequate appropriation to support enrollment is our biggest barrier right now. And Amy, I'd love you to speak in a little bit more detail about some of the other barriers that our students are facing that we would say are greater barriers to equity and access than course material costs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. As Sam mentioned, the biggest concern that we have is that we're not sure that we can serve all of the students who apply for our classes because that fund continues to diminish. So we eliminated the barriers that existed before that, course fees, online fees, general fees, those have been eliminated. We started that in the fall of 2020. So those were really the biggest barriers before we reached the situation where we continuously exhaust the aspirations funding. And that's because we worked so hard to provide an open access policy. So we eliminated standardized test scores, we eliminated transcripts, we really opened it up to our school counselors to tell us which students they felt were ready for these programs. So along with that became the surge in enrollment. We also opened up access by having an online application system that initially was shared between all 7 universities, but we recently joined forces with the community college system so that our students can apply with a single online application and access all 14 of our public institutions. So that's how we've provided access. But as Sam mentioned, the funding on the other side hasn't increased with it. So we're providing more opportunities, but we are constantly in a situation where we're looking at, can we continue to serve students and can we continue to fill these applications and enroll students in those spots? Is the aspirations funding going to be there? So that's really been our primary concern from semester to semester.
Thank you.
Representative Stearns, does that answer your question? I mean, sorry, Senator Woodson, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So I have Representative Stearns and Representative McCray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've had the opportunity to sit in as an observer on the work of the stakeholder group. First of all, I'd like to thank Representative O'Neill for bringing this textbook piece forward, but observing the work of that group has enlightened me, if you will, to some real inequities, some inconsistencies across the board as to how high school students are getting information and school staff are getting information. It's highlighted I think it's just been alluded to, the lack of funds for tuition that are present. We had a situation with credit limits that was problematic in that some were 4-credit courses and per semester, and that was throwing some students off in how they'd like to schedule those pieces. With that said, I would ask any one of our guests, my notion is that this particular component, perhaps if we could wait, I think we're right on the cusp of having some pretty good valuable input and data coming forward, and that perhaps we could proceed in a more comprehensive manner if we were to delay a little bit on just the textbook portion of this bill. And before you reflect on that, if you would, I would propose that we consider a component in the EPS formula. I believe that early college opportunities have established themselves as an essential service to high school. And perhaps we might look at the gifted and talented component and make that gifted, talented, and high achievers. And someone looking forward to college courses would be a high achiever, and those funds could be distributed at the local level by a local formula with some guidelines. So with that, I'll be quiet and defer to the experts in the room to see if that resonates with any of them.
So Representative Stearns kind of had both an idea and a question. I think the question was, is this discussion about textbooks a little bit premature given the work of the advisory group? The second question he had was, should we look at something more long lasting in terms of amending the EPS formula in regards to gifted and talented? So if anybody of all the people we have here would like to answer all or any part of those two questions, Ms. Warren, I see you nodded your head, so I'll call on you.
I'll start by saying yes and yes. We're really excited about this equity project that's happening. And we think based on the experiences of other states, I think I provided a link in my testimony to work that Illinois had done. This can be a very meaningful process that will inform really lasting and far-reaching improvements in equity. So we would absolutely support waiting until that report is done, and Amy and Mercedes could speak a little bit more about the timing and how it may or may not align with this committee's obligation to get bills reported out. And we would absolutely agree that it may be time for a more comprehensive discussion about the funding of early college and the sustainability of that funding. So we're not constantly I always say, looking for money in the couch cushions to figure out how we're going to address this incredible need. So we would absolutely support that. The one thing I would want to just flag is that while there are certainly high achievers among our early college student population, we really need to be careful to not equate early college with advanced placement courses. Early college was really intended to give opportunity to those students who might not have thought college was for them. That's why it's called aspirations in state statute. It was really to show those kids, as you know, so many of our students at both systems are first generation college students. And this was really to give them the confidence that they were in fact college material, so they could have successful college experiences in the safety of their high school community and their home community. And so while there certainly are some students we would think of as gifted and talented students, what is wonderful about early college is it's really for all learners. And in fact, the data show that it is those most underserved learners who have the best outcomes as a result of early college. So there's some data in my testimony from last week, and I'm happy to send other reports that the systems have done. But within the University of Maine system, students of color who experience early college and high school and then come to our system graduate, their graduation rate is 33 percentage points higher than students of color who do not have an early college experience. And I believe for rural students, which make up, I think, about 55% of our early college population, the graduation rate for students with an early college experience is 12 percentage points higher. So this really is intended for all students, and it is, in fact, those who are most underserved who most benefit. And Amy and Mercedes, I'd invite you to add to that.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. And Ms. Poor, did you want to say anything, or Ms. Hubbard?
I'll just thank Representative Stearns for giving his time and attention to that equity project. Having him there and listening to what our schools and our stakeholders were experiencing with these programs was really valuable. And it was so valuable for us too, to hear the challenges that they are facing. And textbooks did come up, but less than other challenges, really trying to get the concurrent opportunities into our smaller and rural schools, expanding what we already do and making more opportunities for students to take these courses inside their high schools where texts are actually not an issue. So I think we also have to remember that when we're talking about textbooks and access, we're also talking about the different modalities, and where we really permeate the entire state and can reach rural, small, those students who may be underserved, as Sam was speaking of so eloquently, we can do that through concurrent means and really thinking outside the box. Students who are looking for a textbook are usually taking courses on a campus or, in the past 2 years, online. And just that act comes with a little bit of privilege. So the only consideration I have is to make sure that when we design this textbook assistance, and I truly, truly believe that there are some students who need this textbook assistance in order to access the opportunities that we have, we do it from a foundation of equity. How do we get that assistance to those students who need it most in order to take advantage of this opportunity? So I think that's it. In terms of being a little premature, the researcher is literally writing the report right now, and we will have it in your hands by March or early April. And yes, the timing here is just a little strange that way.
Thank you. Representative Stearns, just before I forget, but thank you for participating. And I don't know if you're officially representing the Education Committee, but we do appreciate you putting in the time for this. Thank you. So I have Representative McCray, then I have Senator Woodson, but Ms. Holmes, did you have something that you wanted to add quickly?
Yes, thank you very much. J.C. Holmes, Federal State Legislative Liaison. I just wanted to add to what Sam and Mercedes were adding to. We had a meeting on Friday afternoon, I believe, with the researcher to go through the outline of what that report is going to look like, and our commissioner participated as well. So I think we would benefit from the opportunity of being able to see that report, which they are finalizing, and drawing in from what some other states are doing so that we could look at a fuller picture.
Okay. So just two things very quickly then. Initially, I was told, I spoke with Representative Stearns yesterday, the report wasn't probably going to be available until after we were out of session. Now you're saying that it might be available in March?
That's the impression that they gave us on Friday afternoon.
Okay.
It may be toward the end of March, but they're working diligently.
All right, thank you. And I just want to backtrack for 1 second before I get to Representative McCray, but Ms. Pork, could you introduce yourself and give us your title?
I'm sorry, there's Representative. I'm Mercedes Poor, and I'm the Director of College Access for Maine's Community Colleges.
Okay.
So as such, I do oversee and help to coordinate all of our early college efforts, those supported by the Aspirations Fund, which is the bulk of what we do in schools. It's also the bulk of what we do in CTEs, where almost over half or 2/3 of our credits, when we deliver them inside a secondary school, are actually delivered inside CTEs.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Warren, could you also, just for the record, introduce yourself as well?
I am Sam Warren, Director of Government Relations for the University of Maine System.
Thank you. Now we'll go to Representative McCray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is very quick and very somewhat tangential. A while back, we were talking about the things that we might be able to use to determine necessity. And one of the things was free and reduced hot lunch. But it's my understanding that that probably is not easy information to come by, even more difficult than in the past, because lunches are provided free to everybody at this point. So who's going to apply? That's is that accurate, JC? You probably would know better than anybody.
Yes, that was what I was referring to in working with our data team and looking at alternative measures, because we need that for a number of our federal programs. So Charlotte and her team are looking at a census-based model and looking via certain zip codes and trying to figure out if that teases out a more concrete manner of determining poverty indexes.
Thank you.
Okay. Before we go to Representative O'Neill, if she is here, I do see that we have Becky Smith from the community college. Ms. Smith, did you want to say anything at this point?
No, I believe that Amy, Sam, and Mercedes spoke very eloquently, and I do not have anything to add. I am Becky Smith, however, Director of Government and Community Relations from the Maine Community College System, for the record.
Okay. And for the record, Ms. Hubbard, if you could introduce yourself and if you had any comments.
Thank you. I'm Amy Hubbard, the Executive Director of Early College for the University of Maine System, and I oversee all of our early college programs at all 7 of our institutions. And I don't have anything to add.
Right. And Mr. Libby, if you could introduce yourself.
Certainly. My name is Jason Libby. I'm the Post-Secondary and Educator Preparation Coordinator for the Maine Department of Education.
Okay. And did you have any additional comments as part of the discussion?
Representative Brennan, I do not at this time. Thank you.
Okay. So again, we have everybody here that knows something about early college and about these issues. Ms. Warren, I have one quick question. It was noted in Ms. Ritzler's review that about fees and the cost of fees. My understanding is that the early college program does pay fees at this point. It doesn't pay for books, but it does pay for fees. Is that true?
Yes, the University of Maine System, I think it was just before the pandemic, we started waiving fees for early college students.
Waiving the fees for, okay. Okay, great. So, Mr. Murphy, do we have Representative O'Neill with us?
Representative Brennan, I have reached out to her. She's not in the attendees list. I have not heard back from her as of yet.
Okay. So, you know, at this particular point, given all the comments and there's quite a bit of information to digest, and that we just did find out that this other group task force potentially would have recommendations to us by March, it would seem to me at this point that tabling this bill might be the most prudent action, and we could ask the sponsor to work with the various stakeholders to see if there's something in particular we can do around the issue of books. But I think we all would welcome a larger review or discussion about the program, and then maybe we back into a discussion about books. So Representative McCray, did you have a motion at this point? You're muted.
And I said that so well.
And Representative McCray, before you make a motion, maybe because obviously tabling motions are not debatable, so I just wanted to know if anybody else had any comments or questions. I'm assuming that Representative McCray is going to make a tabling motion, and if there and Representative Dodge would second that. So I just want to make sure that people on the committee had an opportunity to discuss anything or say anything before we had a tabling motion. Representative Stearns, did you have a thought? Okay, you're okay. All right. Then we will go to Representative McCray, and if you could make a tabling motion, I think that would be helpful at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we table LD 1870.
It's 1880.
I'm sorry, 1880.
And I would second that motion, Mr. Chair, to table LD 1880. Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved by Representative McCray that we table 1880, and it's been seconded by Representative Dodge. Again, no discussion on a tabling motion, and I would ask Mr. Murphy if he would call the roll. Or, well, yeah, go ahead and call the roll, Ms. Murphy.
Sure. Senator Rafferty.
Yes, to table.
Senator Rafferty votes yes. Senator Daughtry. Senator Daughtry is absent. Senator Woodsum.
Yes.
Senator Woodsum votes yes. Representative Brennan.
Yes.
Representative Brennan votes yes. Representative Crockett.
Yes.
Representative Crockett votes yes. Representative Dodge.
Yay.
Representative Dodge votes yay. Representative Lyman.
Yes.
Representative Lyman votes yes. Representative McCray.
Yes.
Representative McCray votes yes. Representative Millette.
Yes.
Representative Millette votes yes. Representative Roach. Representative Roach is absent. Representative Salisbury.
Yes.
Representative Salisbury votes yes. Representative Sampson.
Yes.
Representative Sampson votes yes. Representative Stearns.
Yes.
Representative Stearns votes yes, and I do see Senator Daughtry.
Thank you. Was just hoping I could squeak in. I vote yes as well. Thank you.
Representative Daughtry votes yes. The vote to table passes on a 12 yes, 1 absent.
Right. So the motion to table does carry, and we will work with the sponsor as well as Ms. Risler to find a time to have a follow-up discussion and work session on this bill. Before I officially close the work session on the bill, I want to thank Ms. Holmes, Ms. Warren, Ms. Poor, Ms. Hubbard, Ms. Smith, and Mr. Libby for being with us. It was very helpful to have all of you here and answer our questions. And I want to thank Ms. Risler again for her always excellent analysis of the bill. So thank you, and we will officially close the work session on LD 1880. And I will hand the gavel over to Senator Rafferty.
Thank you very much, Representative Brennan. I appreciate that. Our next work session will be on LD 1893, which is an act regarding the use of student athlete's name, image, likeness, or autograph. And so I will open that work session at this time and ask that Ms. Risler, if you would be kind enough to share your analysis.
Absolutely. Yes, so this is LD 1893, which is an act regarding the use of a student athlete's name, image, likeness, or autograph. This bill prohibits a college or university from adopting or enforcing a policy, requirement, standard, or limitation that prohibits or otherwise prevents a student athlete who is participating in an intercollegiate athletic program at the college or university from earning compensation for the use of the student athlete's name, image, or likeness, or NIL, when the student athlete is not engaged in official team activities, and obtaining professional representation, including representation by an attorney, for contracts or other legal matters relating to the use of the student's NIL. The bill also prohibits a college or university from disqualifying a student athlete who is participating in an intercollegiate athletic program from receiving a scholarship, grant, or similar financial assistance awarded by the college or university because the student athlete earns compensation from NIL or obtains professional representation. The bill also prohibits a college or university from prescribing a team contract, which is a defined term in the bill, for an intercollegiate athletic program that prohibits the student from using their NIL for a commercial purpose. It allows the college or university to determine what behavior constitutes official team activities at that college or university. It also permits a student athlete to earn compensation from selling the student athlete's autograph. The bill also provides that a student may not be considered an employee based on the student athlete's participation in the intercollegiate athletic program and may not receive benefits accruing to a college or university employee. And finally, the bill prohibits a group or organization with authority over intercollegiate athletics from preventing a college or university from participating in intercollegiate athletics in the state as a result of student athletes at the college or university earning compensation for the use of their name, image, or likeness. At the public hearing, proponents of the bill testified that the purpose of the bill is to ensure that college athletes in Maine are allowed to earn compensation from the usage of their names, images, and likeness. And so far, the NCAA has enacted an interim policy as a result of the Supreme Court ruling that 29 states so far have enacted legislation. Additionally, that the bill would protect the rights of student athletes and protect colleges and universities in Maine from capricious actions by the NCAA if it were to significantly change its rules. You did not hear any testimony in opposition. However, you did hear some testimony neither for nor against. Specifically, that there was a preference that any NIL law be enacted at the federal level, so it is applied equally in all states and does not create confusion for any student athletes as they compete across the country. There were a number of technical concerns and suggested amendments, which I'll talk to in just a moment. And then there was a little bit concern about the effect on high school athletics. So very briefly, a lot of this you heard during the public hearing and some of the questions the committee asked, but this stems from a case at the Supreme Court, NCAA versus Alston, that unanimously held that the NCAA cannot restrict certain education-related benefits that schools may offer student athletes. Provided a quick summary of that decision. And then I also provided a link to the University of Maine testimony from their athletic director, Ken Ralph, because there were some concerns directly related to the bill as well. The committee had asked for some information on how other states are dealing with this issue. I did provide for the committee a link to NCSL's overview of this topic, which provides a number of other states' legislation. If there are questions on particular states, I'm happy to do a little bit more research about those states if anyone in the committee would like. There was also a request that Mr. Ken Ralph, the Director of Athletics for the UMaine, be present for the work session today. We do not have any preliminary fiscal impact statement at this time. However, Representative Brennan, as a co-sponsor of this bill, had requested that I send a proposed amendment to you this morning, and I'm happy to go through that with the committee if you would like me to. I do see Sam Warren here from the University of Maine system.
Excuse me. Thank you, Hillary. Folks, anything, any questions right off to start with? Representative Brennan?
Thank you, Senator Rafferty. I was just going to ask if Ms. Rizzler could go through the amendment, that would answer almost every question that was raised in the analysis. And then if we asked Ms. Warren to comment on the amendment, I think it would move the discussion along fairly quickly.
Thank you.
Sure, I'm going to share my screen again. So this is the proposed amendment, and the changes to the bill are highlighted and italicized. The first thing the amendment would do was remove this definition of institutional contract. I think this was likely left in the bill in error because the term is not used anywhere else in the bill. So that corrects a technical drafting error to remove that definition. The bill would amend the provision that has to do with disqualifying a student athlete who is participating in an intercollegiate athletic program at a college or university to, rather than have it be disqualifying from a grant or similar financial assistance, it would prohibit a college or university from disqualifying a student athlete from a full athletic-based scholarship awarded by the college or university because the student is earning compensation from their use of their NIL or has obtained professional representation. An additional change that the amendment would make has to do with the way that this particular section of law would be interpreted. Specifically, it provides that nothing contained in this section may be construed to limit a college or university from adopting or enforcing a policy, requirement, or standard that establishes conditions by which a student athlete may monetize the student athlete's name, image, or likeness, including but not limited to prohibitions on a student athlete's use of a college or university trademark, logo, or facility, and a student athlete's use of the student athlete's name, image, or likeness in a manner that is inconsistent with a college or university code of conduct or other college or university policy. So this would allow colleges and universities to create policies that would prevent students from using, for example, the college or university trademark, logo, or facility in the use of the commercialization of their NIL, as well as if there are particular student code of conduct policies that the use of the NIL would have to be consistent with those policies as well. Lastly, the proposed amendment would remove the section of the bill specifically related to the employment status.
Thank you, Hillary. Ms. Warren, is there something you wanted to add to that or comment on?
Good morning again. I am Sam Warren, Director of Government and Community Relations for the University of Maine System, and I'm here today on behalf of Ken Ralph and his fellow athletic directors across the system. I want to thank Representative Brennan and Hillary for working closely with us over the weekend on these amendments. The university, again, as we made clear during our testimony last week, we do not believe this law is necessary given it is consistent with our current policies and practices. But we absolutely appreciate why you would want to enshrine these long overdue rights for our students into state statute. And so we feel completely comfortable with the amended language, and we're really grateful for the work of Representative Brennan and Hillary to get here.
Thank you. Folks, any Any other clarification is needed? Representative Brennan?
Thank you very much, Senator, and thank you, Ms. Warren, for your comments and for working with me and Hillary on this amendment. And I just want to point out that former Senator Lucchini has also reviewed the amendment and has endorsed the amendment as well. And as you recall, he was the original sponsor of the bill. And but I have worked with him, and he has seen the amendment and signed off on it.
Thank you. Any other questions, concerns? Seeing none, would we like entertain question? Senator Woodson?
Yes. I guess I question the need of the bill based on what Ms. Warren just said, that they don't feel it's needed. They appreciate the amendment, but they still don't feel it's needed. So I probably will oppose this bill.
Thank you. Representative Stearns?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I concur with Senator Woodson. If a legislation or statute isn't necessary for the better good of the order, I don't see any reason that we need to go ahead and pass it. And oftentimes, a state regulation will only provide murkiness, if you will, moving forward when they conflict with possibly conflict with any kind of federal regulation. So I'll be voting no on the measure.
Thank you. Any other questions? I would entertain a motion at this time. Representative Brennan?
Thank you, Senator Rafferty. Just quickly to respond to Senator Woodson and Representative Stearns, and talking to Senator Lucchini, he put the bill in because he thought it was important to be able to protect student interest over time. And I respect the fact that the university does have a policy, but it's just a policy within the university that's transitory, can change at any time, change with the administration within the university system. This bill is drafted, I don't believe conflicts with any federal law, and it's certainly in keeping and follows the Supreme Court opinion from Justice Brett Kavanaugh that was very clear about student athletes' rights to compensation. So I really think after we've worked closely with the university and come up with the amendment, that this is a fairly modest proposal to protect the rights of students and also to protect the university from any retaliatory actions taken on behalf of the NCAA. So that all being said, I will make a motion ought to pass on LD 1893 as amended.
Second.
Thank you. So I have a motion and a second. Motion was made by Representative Brennan to ought to pass as amended. And that was seconded by Senator Daughtry. I think I recognize that voice. Any other questions?
Apparently, our clerk, Mr. Murphy, has a question.
Eli.
Senator Rafferty, I just wanted to inform you and the committee, Ken Ralph has joined this call. If you did have questions for him as well, I know that was brought up a little bit ago as we're discussing now this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have a motion. Motion's been seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will ask Representative Stearns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I would like to take advantage of having the university's athletic director here and pose a direct question. Does he feel that there's any necessity for this state legislation in order for the university to move forward and treat their athletes in a respectful manner.
Thank you. We can invite Mr. Ralph in. And
Well, thank you. I
Yes, sir.
appreciate. Yeah, I do appreciate the question, and quite frankly, anytime our state governing body is out to support our students, we're very grateful for that. And we've worked, I think, to find a reasonable compromise. My personal feelings is it's best left to not have any type of legislation passed on this. It will give us the greatest flexibility to allow our students the greatest possible number of opportunities, as this is a growing and evolving field, and I don't want to put any limits on what our students will have access to in the future, other than the small number of items that have been worked through here as part of the negotiation. So personally, I'm not sure this is necessary, but based on the work we've done with Representative Brennan, I think we've reached a level of comfort.
Thank you, sir.
Any further discussion? So again, the motion was to ought to pass as amended. It was made by Representative Brennan, second by Senator Daughtry. I'm going to ask that Sam please call a roll in order for us to vote.
Certainly, I hope I can live up to Sam's roll calling abilities.
Oh, sorry, Eli.
No worries. So the motion is ought to pass as amended on LD 1839. Senator Rafferty.
Yes, ought to pass as amended. Thank you.
Senator Rafferty votes yes. Senator Daughtry.
Yes.
Senator Daughtry votes yes. Senator Woodsum.
No.
Senator Woodsum votes no. Representative Brennan.
Yes.
Representative Brennan votes yes. Representative Crockett.
Yes.
Representative Crockett votes yes. Representative Dodge.
Yay.
Representative Dodge votes yay. Representative Lyman.
No.
Representative Lyman votes no. Representative McCray. Representative McCray is absent. Representative Millette.
Yes.
Representative Millette votes yes. Representative Roach. Representative Roach is absent. Representative Salisbury.
Yes.
Representative Salisbury votes yes. Representative Sampson.
No.
Representative Sampson votes no. Representative Stearns.
No.
Representative Stearns votes no. The votes are 7 votes for the motion, 5 against, 2 absent. So the motion carries.
Thank you, Eli.
Could I question that? 5 against.
It's 4. It's 7-4.
My
I believe
apologies. Yes, it is 4 against.
Okay, thank you.
And Representative Stearns.
Unless I hear differently from one of my colleagues, the minority report would simply be ought not to pass.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the motion does carry then. So just to Eli, just to be sure, so we had 7 in favor, 4 opposed, and 2 absent.
That is correct.
Thank you very much. So I'm gonna thank you folks for your work, and thank you both Ms. Warren and Mr. Ralph. Thank you for being here this morning. We appreciate your help and helping us work with this. I'm gonna call a work session on LD 1893 to a close. And thank you folks again for your help. We have one work session left, and that is relative to LD 1902. And again, I may be called out of this committee shortly. I expect to be. But so that said, I'm gonna ask that Representative Brennan handle this work session.
Thank you, Senator Rafferty. And we'll look forward to hopefully moving it along so you'll still be with us. But we'll officially open the work session on LD 1902, which is a resolve to establish a pilot program to encourage climate education in Maine public schools. And it was presented by Representative Bloom. And as is our protocol, we will go to Ms. Risler and ask her to provide a bill analysis on 1902.
All right, so this is a resolve, as Representative Brennan mentioned, that establishes the Climate Education Professional Development Pilot Program as a 3-year pilot program within the Department of Education to provide grants for professional development for educators on climate science and to support the preparation of courses on interdisciplinary climate education. And it would provide $3 million in one-time funds for the grants to school districts to partner with nonprofit community-based organizations to create and implement plans to provide teacher training in next generation science standards and interdisciplinary climate education. Recipients of the grants must report annually to the Department of Education for the duration of the grant, and the department must submit a report to the Education and Cultural Affairs Committee no later than January 1st of 2025. Part of the report must include a recommendation as to whether the pilot program should continue as a pilot program, be modified, or become a permanent program. And the bill gives the committee authority to report out a bill to the first regular session of the 132nd legislature. You did hear a lot of testimony at the public hearing, so this will be a very brief summary of that. Proponents of the bill testified that climate change is real, scientifically measurable, and taking a toll on the planet and increasingly on mental and physical health. That the bill will support Climate Council's recommended strategies, specifically Strategy H, by increasing educational opportunities in climate and energy through professional development opportunities. That the bill would not represent a mandate on schools. That the next generation is the most at risk and must be prepared to respond to the climate crisis. That more education is needed on the impacts of climate change, and that this bill would provide the resources for schools to implement interdisciplinary climate change education. The pilot program will support equitable access to climate change education and support the climate education in the next generation science standards, and that teachers have expressed the need for more training and professional development in climate change education. You did not hear any testimony at the public hearing in opposition or neither for nor against, although I will note you did see some written testimony in opposition that was concerned with bringing a political agenda into schools. And you did receive some written testimony neither for nor against, with some concerns about using the money, that it would be better to use the money elsewhere, and concern of the equity of the grant process. So I just provided some brief additional information for you. One of the things referenced in numerous testimony at the public hearing was the Maine Won't Wait 4-year plan for climate action. So I provided a link to that report. Additionally, the Department of Education, which would be tasked with administering the grant program, provided some written testimony, and so I wanted to make sure you had a copy of that as well. Although we don't technically have a preliminary fiscal impact statement, the bill itself includes an appropriation of $3 million in one-time funds to fund the grants and cover one limited period regional education representative position in the Department of Education. That position would be effective from September 1st of 2022 to June 30th of 2025. I do believe Representative Bloom is available in the attendee list as well.
Yes, and before we get to Representative Bloom, are there any questions for Ms. Risler, the analysis that she just provided? No questions. Okay, so at this point, Ms. Murphy, if we could let in Representative Bloom.
I'm here.
Good. I can hear you, but not see you. I mean, on video yet. There you are. Thank you. Thank you for being with us, Representative Bloom. And at this point, I'd ask you if you want to make any comments to in regards to Ms. Risler's analysis. And I know in the last week or so, there have been a number of other questions raised about the bill publicly. And if you'd like to respond to those, at this point, it would be the perfect time. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you for considering this very important bill and very timely bill. And some of the concerns was around equity. And I think that in making sure that these funds get to the schools that need them, or that want them, I should say, and need them. And also that all schools in Maine will be considered equitably for these funds. And I think, as I said, I think in the actual bill, you will see that is prioritized in that those schools will, that the education department will develop this grant awarding program with that in mind. And of course, there'll be a person to administer it. And there's been a lot of success with helping underprivileged students in these schools through an example of the COVID programs that have enabled schools to get grant funding. So there's a proven model for this, and something that the education department would be looking to make this program more viable for equitable assessment of equitable distribution. There was an article in the Portland Press Herald and then about this, and I thought it didn't really understand that aspect. And I wrote a rebuttal to that op-ed and hopefully addressed those issues. It's really been a process. The development of this bill is equity in action in terms of all of the people, all of the educators and students, and the work with the education department in developing this bill. It has been a remarkable experience, and something that also is underscored by the Maine Climate Action Plan, which I've been a part of, that we were told when we were working on our working groups that we have to add equity into our strategies. How is it going to be fairly? How fair can we make them so we don't we don't hurt these communities anymore? So anyway, it is the equity subcommittee of the Climate Council is putting out a report very soon that actually analyzes all the strategies in the Climate Action Plan, including Strategy H, with which this bill was developed, to make sure that if there's any recommendations for equity that can be made. So in other words, what I'm getting at is that this is part and parcel of this bill.
Thank you, Representative Bloom. Are there any questions of Representative Bloom? Representative Stearns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Bloom, for being here. Have any science teachers, specific science teachers or science departments in the state of Maine reached out to you indicating that they do not have adequate resources to access information regarding the instruction of the climate?
Absolutely. That was the reason for this bill from the get-go. A science teacher from Sanford approached me about this bill because the science teacher that they have what is it called? The Maine Science Teachers Association have met, and they have identified this need as their number one need for professional development. They don't have the resources. They don't have, the science is ever changing, and there's a lot of information and it's rapidly coming at them. So they would like this professional development support. And yes, that was the originator of the bill, was a science teacher.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Representative Bloom? Senator Rafferty, is that your right?
It is. Thank you. Yeah. So thank you, Representative Bloom. I know that I was somewhat troubled by the article I saw in the Portland Press as well, as they were referring to this as a mandate, and quite clear that is not a mandate. But the other question that has surfaced was when you're looking for community partners, I understand that to be a question, and there was some reference to that there's not enough community partners to help, down the road serve as resources for the bill. Can you address that in any way?
Yes, we actually have Maine, and every single county has a supportive community organizations. In the Teach Me Outside directory of environmental education that focuses on professional development and climate education, currently 32 programs listed that focus on that, and every county in Maine is served by at least 13 of these programs. I'm reading this from points that were made in response to that article. And this is something that the originators of this bill also know about. And there's no short supply of them. And what we want to do, what is important is that there are community organizations for these schools to partner with. And there are.
Thank you.
Any other questions from members of the committee? I have one for Representative Bloom and or Ms. Rizzler, whoever can answer. The bill as written anticipates $3 million in general fund resources to capitalize the fund. Does it also allow, or do we need language to allow for private grants or grants from other funding sources that are outside of state government to also be part of the fund? So sometimes in the past, we've used a combination of state money as well as grant money or even donations from other sources. So I was just wondering if the sponsor was looking to that type of flexibility, and if in fact she was, if Ms. Rizzler would be able to draft language that would accommodate that.
Yes, I would be open to that. I know that that's one of the major funding opportunities for many of the initiatives in the Maine Climate Action Plan is private money. So I would say that you may, if that is not in the bill, I thought that was in the intention of the bill, but if it is not specifically drawn out, I would support that.
Yeah. Well, sometimes there's language that somebody has to review the donation or the gift to that fund to make sure that it's an appropriate contribution. So, but also it should be permissive to allow that to happen as well.
Absolutely.
Senator Woodson and then Representative Lyman, but Ms. Rizzler, did you want to comment?
Sure. I just wanted to confirm for the committee that that language is not currently in the bill, but we do have some standard language that would allow the fund to accept from private, nonprofit, et cetera. And so if that's something the committee would like to amend the bill to include, I could certainly draft that and have it for you at the language review.
Good. Thank you very much. Senator Woodson and then Representative Lyman.
Thank you, sir. A question was asked of me and I couldn't answer it, but maybe somebody on the committee in the department can. We have a set of standards for teaching science. Is climate a part of that standard? Is this a part of the curriculum in our state?
Yes,
Right.
it is. It is in the next generation science standards that we adopted in 2019. So
And
yes,
so-
it's not new curricula. This is not new curricula. This is not a mandate. This is responding to the request for from teachers that really have prioritized this as something that's lacking in their professional development, so they can address the next generation science standards.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Lyman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess my question sort of goes with Senator Woodson's share as well, is I was going to bring up the connection to the next generation. And I guess I have a question too, is I'm curious as to the stakeholders, the teachers in the classroom, and myself being one not very long ago and using Next Generation, is I have actually a lot of support for teaching that as well as other areas of science. So I think that's why I'm struggling with this a little bit, questioning the need for it, and that it is something that is being used by teachers across the state as well as others. Thank you.
May I respond?
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you, Representative Lyman. I appreciate that concern. And I think that if this hadn't stemmed from the teachers and their requested need for this, I don't think I would agree with you that it exists to be fine, but it doesn't to the extent that is required. And I think that's the message from the teachers at this point. And again, it was identified as the #1 issue for these teachers.
Okay. Representative Lyman, did that answer your question?
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, I
Yeah,
still,
okay.
it's still something to consider. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Representative Stearns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know that with some legislation, the language permitting the use of outside funds is a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea at all in this case. I think that involving various nonprofits or stakeholders could tip this in such a way that it becomes gets out of the domain of the Department of Education and more into the domain of specific curriculum or curricular of viewpoints being taught. And that in and of itself would be really an antithesis to the scientific process, which is to go out and get every bit of information that you possibly can to try to disprove your theory. So I would shy away from that type of financial input, if you will, so that any group or institution could sort of buy their way into curriculum development in the state of Maine.
Okay, thank you. I have Senator Daughtry or Ms. Rizzler, did you want to comment very quickly?
If I may, I just want to jump in because I was just, as you were discussing, trying to fine print, read through the bill to make sure there was nothing I missed. And there was one thing I missed that I want to clarify. When establishing the fund, this bill provides that the fund is established as a dedicated non-lapsing fund for the purposes of receiving funds from the state and other sources for the purposes of this resolve. I think if the committee is interested in having that the fund accept from other private nonprofits, you'd want to clarify and use some of the standard language. So I would suggest amending that, but I did want to be very clear to the committee that as drafted, it does provide that the fund can receive funds from both the state and other sources.
And Ms. Rizzler, just very quickly, but is that other sources within state government or within public domain? You don't know.
I don't know, which is why I think you should clarify it.
Because other sources could be ARPA funds, or it could be other funds within the public domain. Okay, thank you. And Representative Bloom, did you have a quick response to that or thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the intent is that there's federal money coming to support such things, and so I think the fund wanted to be open to that. And I don't think it had to do with private organizations. I think it had to do with federal funding.
Okay, thank you.
But I'm pretty sure about that. So if
Okay.
it was amended that way, that might make sense.
Okay, thank you. Senator Daughtry, good to see you.
Lovely to see you as well, Representative Brennan. And I have to say, I had a question, but Ms. Rizzler just started taking my mind in another direction. And I think, yeah, if we get clarification on whether that other funds is exactly as we just heard, whether it's within state government and federal funding, or if that opens it up for other outside funds, because Representative Stearns got my mind going as well. So, definitely understand some of the the hesitation there about how are we accepting outside funds for Maine State curriculum when we've been so careful and deliberative for so many years of sort of protecting that practice through the Maine learning results and through all the work we've done on this committee with curriculum. I did just want to say, when Representative Bloom first reached out, my first response of, is this a mandate? Do we need another mandate? And I know she has spoken very eloquently on this, not only before our committee, but also in publication and in print. So first she won me over on that aspect. And then I had the exact same question as Representative Lyman of, where is this coming from? Like, what is the need? Aren't we going through this with next gen science standards? And not only did I, get a good response from Representative Bloom, but I've actually had several constituents who are teachers locally, not only in school districts within my district, but also who live here and work out of district. And they all asked and pressed really strongly to have this bill pass and gave me specific examples of curriculum that fits within the next gen science standards and supplies and ideas that they would like to be able to provide for their students, but currently within their school budget, they don't have the ability to pull that down. It's just a little bit too much. And that this would be sort of a companion program to what they're already doing and what's within those science standards, as well as, our Maine learning results, and give them that extra ability to sort of let their curriculum and their practice take off. And the reason I was late this morning to committee is I was actually presenting a spaceport bill about, creating a coordinating council so that Maine can be on the leading edge of launching these sort of small satellites. And part of the group, what they were talking about are teachers who are wanting to be able to work with this technology in their classrooms, in our public school systems, to be able to look at climate science, with a rocket launched from our state with our students, which just got me even more excited in these conversations. So it sort of felt like they dovetailed together. And the other reason that I have now come from being apprehensive to fully supporting and excited to vote for this bill is a lot of the students that I heard from who got really excited about this. And I got to have conversations with students for the first time of explaining what curriculum is, how it comes before their classes. It provided a really amazing opportunity to sort of harness the passion of talking about the climate crisis that we have with these students, how they impact change, and then how what they're learning in classes, the amazing process we all have here on this committee with our teachers, with our, school boards. And it just sort of was a really nice sort of like full rounded package. So I'll get off my soapbox now, but I want to thank Representative Bloom. She knows I was pretty apprehensive at the beginning, but I thank her for her work and everyone who's worked out, and especially to all the science teachers who have reached out and told me firsthand how this would help. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And Representative Sampson and then Representative Lyman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a couple of things. I think I'd like to address the issue of, is it federal funding or open to private funding? I would strongly encourage we eliminate any private funding. But I would also encourage members of this committee who have not done so is to read the Next Generation Science Standards. One of the parts of the Next Generation Science Standards, which I scrutinize very closely, and some on this committee know that, is that there's a lot of flexibility, but there's also a lot of information. There's a lot of opportunities to deal with just this particular subject. And I would say that an eager teacher could easily do these sorts of things. And the other part to keep in mind is, as a science teacher in a high school specifically, they should not be focusing on just one area. Science is a broad subject. And I would caution this, I worry that this ends up taking over everything else. And I would even suggest that maybe this be a after-school club where that might open it up to all kinds of other opportunities. And it's not tied in specifically with the current standards. This just seems to be adding another layer, and schools are already very burdened. We should be removing obligations. So I have a myriad of concerns on this. The biggest one is that I think it can already be done. I don't think this is necessary. And there are other things that these teachers could be focusing on to actually do the things they're interested in doing.
Thank you, Representative Sampson. Representative Lyman, did you have a question?
Well, not so much a question. I think that I appreciated Senator Daughtry's sharing and bringing up the idea of the enthusiasm. And I think that's the point. I just want to reiterate that as a classroom teacher, there is so many opportunities. With my 5th and 6th grade multi-age classroom, my students, we were talking to research scientists on vessels off the coast of Greece. And there's so many opportunities available for teachers to pursue this area as well as other areas using a scientific process. And that's probably why I'm struggling with this so much, because I do believe it's embedded, it is within the next generation, and it is available. Now, it may be that some teachers haven't had an easy invitation to access that, but it is out there and they are able to. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've I think, exhausted questions for Representative Bloom and for our analyst. But does anybody else have any comments on the bill or comments in general that they want to make in regards to the bill? If I could, Ms. Risler, just ask you a quick question. When we put together the DOE in their testimony references the computer science grant program. When we put that grant program together, didn't we also allowed for private funds to be part of that grant program, did we not?
You did, and I actually just had pulled that up. The language that you used for that was that the fund was established for the purpose of receiving funds from state, federal, and other sources, including donations from private citizens, corporations, and entities for the purposes of that result.
Okay, so obviously it's not unprecedented for us to have that type of funding and allow that to support other curriculum enhancement, development, and other bills that we have passed.
Well, yeah, I would say that. Well, that was the language used in that bill, so that has been done at least once. I can't speak beyond that, but yes.
Okay, thank you. And just following Representative Bloom's comments, that I think that when it was drafted and it said other sources, the intent was probably public sources. And if somebody were to make a motion in regards to the bill, we might want to just at this point, talk about public sources that would support the grant program. If we need to amend that at some other point, we can do that. But I want to point out that we would not be breaking new ground with the language that we might adopt for this bill. So at this point, since we have exhausted questions and comments, I would look for a motion on LD 1902. Representative Dodge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move that we pass LD 1902 as amended. And further, I would suggest that the amendment, that part of that amendment include state and federal sources rather than private. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion, Representative McCray?
I second that motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we now have a motion before the committee. It's been moved in second, and now's the opportunity for additional discussion and or comment on the motion. Is there anybody? All right, seeing none, I will ask Mr. Murphy if he would read the roll or call the roll.
Absolutely. So a vote of ought to pass as amended on LD 1902. Senator Rafferty.
Yes.
Senator Rafferty votes yes. Senator Daughtry.
Yes.
Senator Daughtry votes yes. Senator Woodsum.
No.
Senator Woodsum votes no. Representative Brennan.
Yes.
Representative Brennan votes yes. Representative Crockett.
Yes.
Representative Crockett votes yes. Representative Dodge.
Enthusiastic, yay.
Representative Dodge votes yay. Representative Lyman.
No.
Representative Lyman votes no. Representative McCray?
Yes.
Representative McCray votes yes. Representative Millet?
Yes.
Representative Millet votes yes. Representative Roach? Representative Roach is absent. Representative Salisbury?
Yes.
Representative Salisbury votes yes. Representative Sampson?
No.
Representative Sampson votes no. Representative Stearns?
No.
Representative Stearns votes no. In a vote of 8 for the motion and 4 against the motion, the motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Representative Bloom, thank you for being with us. Thank you for presenting us with the bill. And we look forward to further discussions on the bill. Ms. Risler, thank you very much for your assistance. And did you have a comment?
I just need the minority report.
Unless I hear differently from any of the colleagues, it would simply be ought not to pass.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you to the committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we will call the work session on LD 1902 to a conclusion. And that does wrap up the work that we have scheduled for today. But I see that Ms. Risler has her hand up, so she might have additional tasks for us.
No additional tasks. We do not have any language reviews yet, although we will start having those pretty regularly following work sessions and public hearings. So please stay tuned. I will try to the extent possible to get those out to you the night before if I can, or the morning of at the latest. I do just want to give everybody a quick update on. Sorry. I just want to give everybody a quick update on the schedule for this week, if I may. Tomorrow we have 3 work sessions, 2 carryovers, LD 680, which has to do with comprehensive CTE system, and the carryover 1206 on the terms of the directors of the State Museum and Arts Commission, as well as a work session on LD 1820, which is the bill having to do with the governance of the Maine Community College System Board of Trustees. And then there will be a presentation following the work sessions from the Maine Charter School Commission. That will be added to the weekly schedule as soon as we finish up today, and I work with Eli to revise the weekly schedule. And then Thursday morning, we have 2 presentations set up. One is the presentation from Dr. Reza Naman, who is the superintendent of the Maine Indian Education. And following that, presentations on the quasi-independent entity reports. I have been sending those all out to you. I should get the most up-to-date ones today. They can be a little dry, but I know committee members in the past have also enjoyed hearing about some of the Maine in particular research and development projects. So those, similar to the GEA, will have final reports, although those final reports by the form of a letter are issued to the Government Oversight Committee rather than the presiding officers. And I'll give a brief overview of that process when we get there on Thursday.
And we're still looking for the Maine Teacher of the Year.
Yes, we was also asked to reach out to the Maine Teacher of the Year. I gave her a call yesterday. If we can add her to the schedule this week, we will do so. Obviously, though, if she's in class and teaching during the day, we'll work to find another time to have her for you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Risler. And the quasi-independent state entity reports, those are new to me, so I'm very excited to jump into those. But are these also part of the 52 report backs that we were expecting?
So the Department of Education does not technically have one themselves. However, Child Development Services is considered a quasi-independent entity, so they have one. And yes, it was one of the ones that was on your list.
Okay, I'm just seeing if we're subtracting from that 52 by.
That also That reminds me though, I'm also, you may remember at the beginning of session, I gave you a long list of all those various reports. When I have a moment, I will go back and go through those and note which ones we've received, so that if there are additional questions and the committee still would like presentations on any that have been received already, we get those scheduled. Certainly there are some we have not received that we anticipate will be scheduled for presentation, and we'll get those on the calendar as soon as we can.
Thank you. And unless Representative Millette tells me differently, I think having Dr. Nauman, this will be the first time that we have the superintendent from the Maine Indian education before the committee. So we've also invited Representative Newell to attend the committee meeting as well during the presentation. But I'm excited about having him come because he's never come before. But there's a lot about the schools that I just don't understand the relationship between the federal government, state government, and so on. So we're hoping to be able to learn a little more about that. And then Hillary did cover the charter schools, and we'll have a discussion about that. And Mr. Murphy, you had your hand raised.
Thank you, Representative. If I could just ask that Senator Daughtry and Representative McCray stay on after this to record some votes.
Okay.
That is all from me.
Great. So any other questions before we officially sign off until tomorrow morning? Okay. The Democrats will have a corner caucus to talk about the bills that we have work session on tomorrow morning, immediately following the closing of the committee. Any other questions, comments, thoughts at this point? Well, I hope everybody has a good day, and tomorrow it's supposed to be in the 40s. So that's definitely something to look forward to. Thank you. And we will go to corner caucus, and Maddie and Representative McCray will just stop with Eli very quickly.
I am staying on just for a quick second. Senator Daughtry, I know Director Fox has been emailing back and forth with you about the college affordability. Just let her know as soon as we need to get that process rolling so we can get any signatures we need. And she asked me to.
It should have been sent back from her with everyone CC'd. I'll double check with Meg. She sent out an email with the format. So literally it just needs to be signed by the chairs and then resent back to the POs. The POs
great.
Given permission. So
I'll check with her this morning. Obviously I've been in committee, so I just want to make sure I didn't forget to ask while I had you here.
And just also tomorrow for the two bills with the new assignment, I think I'm either going to clone myself or ask Representative Sylvester to chair so I can come back. But just if I'm missing an action, Eli, if you just call the Labor Committee, I'll try to make it on both places. And then for 680, I did reach out on one person, and then 1880, I think Tim Feely, had he reached out to get a Zoom link for the Maine Arts Commission one? He is part of the governor's group.
If not, Eli, I can send him an email and
thank you.
We'll see if we can get there.
Perfect. But that's all I need tomorrow. Sorry, I've been like all over the place.
If there's anything I can help you with this afternoon, just send me an email.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, vote o'clock.
A vote o'clock. Okay, on LD 1870, the vote was unanimous, ought to pass as amended. Senator Daughtry?
Yeah, yay.
Senator Daughtry votes yay. That is all that I need from you, is just that one.
Oh, perfect.
So you are all set.
Have a good rest of your day.
Likewise. And then Representative McCray on LD 1839, the motion was ought to pass as amended. There were 7 votes in favor of the motion and 4 against.
You said 1839. Is it 1839 or 93?
1893, my apologies. Yes, you are correct.
I vote with the majority, ought to pass as amended.
Great. Thank you very much.